Do I like Hydra on Lee jungle? So AD is awful on Lee. AD is really bad on Lee until before Masters. So basically, building full damage on Lee will take you as far as Diamond 3, I found. Diamond 3, at which point it doesn't matter how fed you are, their enemy team will have the mechanical intelligence and competency to shut down your dumbass for building so much AD item. As AD Lee, you need to shut down the game in 20 minutes, and chances are that's not going to happen. The game is much more objective and teamwork oriented. It's much less about making plays across the map. You can't solo carry games as well anymore, and that's just what the jungle meta has become, especially with the way all junglers can be built. They're really good at shutting down each other. It really does feel a bit skillful. Granted, I miss the Elder Lizard meta with the Ancient Golem and such, but what we have now is fine. Do I like Hydra on Lee jungle? No. So the only reason you would build Hydra is because you're a top lane Lee Sin and you want to split push. Hydra has no purpose on, basically. You're much better off buying a lot of cheap items. That way you're constantly hitting a power spike. So what I mean by that is, first item you build Warrior, alright? That's pretty cheap. It's a really good jungle item. 63 gold for the recipe gives you 20 bonus AD combined into one item. Right? Build your Warrior. Second, Brutalizer. You build another Brutalizer. Builds out of 2 long swords. You can sit on them at any point in the game. If you recall with 360 gold, you can buy a part of it. You recall with 720, you can buy both parts of it. 1337, you can buy all parts of it. Yellman, thanks for the follow, dude. And next item, Hex Drinker. Really cheap. You can build a Null Magic if you need the defenses right away. You can build the Longsword again if it's really cheap. And you'll notice a trend here. It's a lot of little items. It's a lot of little items. And what that means is you will eventually afford a Wrath Pot because you will have 400 gold left over from buying all these parts. And Wrath Pot is actually an item that I feel a lot of people overlook on AD Lee. It makes a huge difference. You can sit on it. Your power spike just blows up. Your ratios are so good on Lee Sin. You've got 1-to-1 on most abilities. You've got 1-to-1 on your E, you've got 0.7 on your Q, and you've got 2.0 on your ult. So basically every point of AD doubles your ult's kick damage. So if you have a Wrath Pot, you've spent 400 gold on 50 bonus damage to your kick. It's amazing assassination. It's amazing assassination. So the way I like to build Lee, it's a lot of little items. You've got a focus around CDR. That's for AD Lee at least. And I'm saying this will only take you as far as D3, because the truth about AD Lee is it's just a lot of sitting in a bush waiting for someone to fuck up. And it will get to a point where people are grouped up enough, they're wise to you. It doesn't matter how many kills you have, it doesn't matter how much AD you do, you'll never be able to one-shot the enemy, because there's so much backline to deal with, and you really want the jungler to be tanky in this meta, because chances are your top laner isn't always going to be a tank, and you just need to be able to fulfill that role when your team needs it. Granted, if you do have a top lane who's your tank, you need a second. Lee's only an off tank, and that means you can still fulfill the purpose of being the crazy insect of dreams, and so on and so forth. So the way I like to build Lee at the moment, if you're serious about Lee and you want to climb, build AD. Build full AD up to D3, and I'm dead serious. Build AD up to D3 because you are not going to solo carry games early on as tank Lee. The thing is, once you get around D3, people can start playing around your plays. People know how to respond well. AD Lee early on can prey on weakness. The really good thing I like about Lee's kit is he's a great jungler because people make mistakes in solo queue, and what Lee does best is prey on mistakes. He can prey on opportunity. He can always arrive at a moment's notice. He's got great mobility. He can fly between camps. He doesn't need blue buff. He can do so much without red, and he's got a kick and playmaking potential. And once you've mastered the Wrecking Ball kick, you'll see in my highlights, it's fantastic, dude. You need to build AD on Lee early on. You need to build AD on Lee early on, otherwise you're not going to have enough of an impact on your team. But once D3 rolls around, your team starts being competent enough and you can tone back a bit. You need to start building Aegis. So it's honestly, I feel, a two-step process. There isn't one universal Lee build. Once you've hit stage 2, D3 of Lee Sin, you want to start building tank. And what that entails is Aegis. Aegis because Meteos did a great talk on the item and how it doesn't work and how it does work. And it does work because it gives you a lot of... It's a nice item. It builds out of some basic parts. A flat ruby crystal and a flat null magic make a huge difference early on, especially if the team are rocking a ton of MR. It really opens up a lot of possibilities in secking the mid laner. You're so much safer. I'm assuming the mid laner's AP. And then the item doesn't work because it forces you to build it just by just by how it's an item that there's no contrast to. If you think about support items, you've got Ardent Sensor. It's a niche item, you build it on Janna, it gives your ADC attack speed. Think about Harbinger. It's a weird support item, it fixes crit chance for heroes who don't have a lot of it. And then you've got Zeke's, no, that's Harbinger. So you've got Aegis. And Aegis does this weird thing of giving your teammates flat resistances. And the truth is, the difference between 30 MR and 50 MR on an ADC is huge. Like, you need to be there for your team. What's really cool about Aegis is it's an item that lets you share gold in a way. You can give your cost effectiveness to your allies, especially when you upgrade to Locket. It's the only item that you can build and it benefits your allies as a jungler. Granted, like, you as a hero, you could get stronger and then distribute your power through shutting down of others, but this is the only item that actually gives your allies strengths, and that's why it's so strong. You have to build Aegis purely because you don't have a choice. That is a bad thing. It's a badly designed item on that core principle, but you just have to build it. It's just always the best option for your team. It doesn't matter how much magic damage they do, someone has to have one on the team at some point. There is going to be magic damage, and it's so worth it to cut it by about 10 to 15%. After your Locket, Black Cleaver. Black Cleaver because it's the AD item for Lee, so don't go Hydra. Don't go Hydra, get the Black Cleaver. Black Cleaver is like the best complete AD item for Lee. Except for maybe, like, you could make an argument for Last Whisper, but it doesn't build out of parts. It sort of does, but not as much as you know, a Black Cleaver does. So with Black Cleaver, it builds out of 2 ruby crystals, which is awesome. Kindle Gem's cheap, Longsword's cheap, the Phage recipe's okay, it's about 900. It's about, what is it, like 625 or something? It's a bit expensive. But what's really cool about Black Cleaver is it's not just a dueling item, it's actually a utility. And so what I mean by utility is that, so Phage has a unique active. Phage has a unique active of giving your basic attacks 20 movement speed, and that's actually pretty cool. When I thought about an item that, you know, Lee's someone that does damage, I want something a little better than a Hex Drinker. I want health. I want health because it benefits my armor as well as my MR, you know? Every bonus point of health isn't flat true damage health. It also, damage done to you still has to chew through that health's resistances. So that's why Phage, I feel, is a good item. You take an item like Frozen Mallet, it gives you 700 health, 30 AD. It's a bit more skewed towards health than Black Cleaver is, which is 400 health and 40 AD. But the big kicker with Black Cleaver is it gives you 20% CDR. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So Phage gives you an active that gives you 20 movement speed for 2 seconds when you basic attack, and that really helps you stick on people. That's cool to have. But what's awesome is Black Cleaver changes it up a bit. Rage actually procs off physical damage, not basic attacks. So when you upgrade it, any physical damage you do, spellcast or otherwise, gives you that 20 movement speed. You can suddenly use Sonic Wave to run away from people. You can Q behind yourself, hit an enemy, and get 20 movement speed for 2 seconds. You can go in, insec, kick someone, and run away as soon as it happens with that burst of movement speed. Granted, you're likely to still get stunned, but it's just so helpful to have. It's a huge change. A lot of people overlook it, but it's just so handy. And on top of that, Warrior, Locket, Black Cleaver, boom, 40% CDR. And that's why I build Black Cleaver as my choice of AD item. So avoid Hydra. It's for clearing, which if you're not a laner, you shouldn't be clearing as Lee. Because go back to it, a good jungler doesn't jungle.